Hi all, welcome to another session on Azure for data engineers. In the previous session, we have talked about Azure ecosystem and its relevance for data engineers. I hope you all had a chance to watch that video. If you haven't, I will share the link in the description so that you can watch it for your reference. In this video, I'll be talking about how we can navigate through the Azure portal. So without any delay, let's dive into that. What is Azure Portal? It is a web-based interface provided by Microsoft. So we know that Azure is something from Microsoft. They provide a variety of services that can be used by different kind of people. We as a data engineer are focused on few specific services provided by Microsoft through Azure. So how do we create these services? How do we access these services? So there are different ways you can access these services. The straightforward way is using the UI. You can also write code and deploy these services. You can also use command line tools like Azure CLI. Those are some advanced topics, so we will talk about those a little bit later. But for now, as an entry-level user, the first straightforward way to explore the different Azure services is through the UI, and that UI is called the Azure Portal. So it is used to manage and interact with Azure Cloud services. So instead of just theory, let's see how we can access this UI. To access the Azure portal, you just need to go into portal.azure.com. So this is the URL. So it will be asking you to pick your Microsoft account. So I'm gonna, for this session, I'll be using this particular free trial I have created using this account. So sometimes it will ask you to verify using the additional two-tier authentication. So let me just find that code. Oops. Okay, you can skip authenticating if it is a trusted device so that every time you don't have to enter that code. So when you join an organization, they already have, usually, if you join as a junior engineer, um, you won't be assigned with the task of creating everything from the scratch. So they most probably will be already having an Azure subscription, Azure portal, everything. So they will add you as a user. So using your email address, you will access this portal. And once you get here, you will be able to see all the services that you are allowed to access and create and edit or read. So some services you may not have permissions depending on how the cloud engineer has set up the account. You will be able to see a variety of services that are available for you. So this is the home page of the Azure portal. So getting back here, let's look at what are the features of Azure portal. So this provides user-friendly dashboards. So this is the home page. Here you can see the different Azure services available. So based on my past usage, it's already suggesting some services that are relevant to me. Then you can also see the resources that I already have in this account. And then if you scroll down, there are other sessions. But before that, let's go into this menu here. So if it is not visible, then you can click here to make it visible. So you can create resources by clicking on this plus icon here. It will take you to another page where you can see all the different resources. So Azure has more than 200 services available. So you can create a multitude of resources. Don't worry too much about what all these resources are. You don't have to know all of them. You only have to know what are the services that are relevant to the kind of work you are doing. So as a data engineer, there are a couple of resources in from this list. Maybe data factory is really important. Storage account is for storage. Virtual machine, you sometimes need it. It's like compute. Then key vault is for storing the secrets, passwords, etc. Virtual network and all will be set up by your cloud engineer. Azure Databricks if you are going to work on Databricks. So these are some basic resources you might use. But in the left hand side, they have categorized the different resources. So under compute, these are the different compute resources available. Under databases, there are a variety of database services available. DevOps, then integration, analytics. So same service may come under different categories as well. So just wanted to let you know that there are so many resources available. Um, you can create the resources by coming to this menu here and clicking on the create resource button, or you can also quickly search for a particular resource by going here. So if I want to create a data factory, you can type data factories and go in there, then click on the plus, create new data factory, and then go from there. Don't worry about how to create all these resources. We will have separate sessions on specifically focused on each resource that are relevant to each service that are relevant to data engineers. For now, in this session, I just wanted to give you a high level overview of the Azure portal and the variety of Azure resources available for you. Okay, so coming back to our menu, we have, so from any page, if you want to go back to the home page, you can click on the home button. Then there is another feature called dashboard. So what this really means is Azure allows you to create and view a variety of dashboards. These can be related to resource monitoring, alerts, security, or just a way of grouping your resources. So for example, I have a dashboard named My Azure Inventory. So here I can see all the different resources I have. So in this particular account at this point, I have a total of 14 resources. Most of them are data factories. I see 7 data factories, 4 key vaults. I see 2 databases, 1 SQL server. So these are the resources I have. This is not the case in an actual organization. This is just a trial account I have created for the purpose of this video recording. That's why I only have very limited resources. But in general, you can come to this dashboard to look at your virtual machines, any other kind of resources, and get insights. So if you go here, you can look at all the resources available in this account. You can create new dashboards as well, any kind of dashboard. Azure Inventory is the one that I just shown you. Then SQL database health, if there is like performance issues, you can monitor by looking at that dashboard. Virtual machine again, if you have virtual machine instances, you can monitor. So yeah, going back again, we have like all services. You can access all services from there. I rarely go there. I just quickly come here and type the name of the resource. Then there is a favorite section. These are all the resources that you mark as favorite or you have recently used. So if you don't want a particular resource to appear here, you can just toggle the star button so that it will be removed from the favorites. Okay, looking at the other elements of this dashboard, We also have a search button, which we already saw. Then there's a Copilot. So if you have any questions, any kind of assistance, you can ask in natural language to this Copilot. Then this one here is the Cloud Shell. So as I mentioned earlier, there are multiple ways to create resources. So if you want to programmatically create resources, you can use PowerShell or Bash commands. So this is where you can execute those commands. You can also use download the Azure CLI into your local, and from there you can execute those commands. But without having to download anything from the browser itself. In this portal, we have this option of executing those kind of commands. Next, we have all the notifications here, settings. If you want to contact Microsoft support for any reason, you can do from here. Then any account related information you can get from here. Okay, so going back to the slide here, summarizing the key features again, it provides user-friendly dashboards. Um, it allows you to create and manage resources. I would like to take this opportunity to um, give you the difference between a resource and a service. These terms are closely related, so you might get confused. So for example, SQL databases. This is a service from Microsoft, or it is a service available in your Azure portal. But if you go to SQL database, I have created one instance of that service. This is what we call as a resource. Similarly, if you go to here, Data Factory is a service offered by Microsoft, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 instances of data factories. Each of these is a resource, and these resources can be grouped into resource groups. So in my account, I only have one Azure subscription, so they all belong to the same subscription, but in an actual company, there could be multiple subscriptions. And then there could be multiple resource groups. I also have multiple resource groups. So let's look at the naming convention here. For this data factory, Azure Data Factory, that is what is ADF. Then next I have the name of the company, which is Algorithm. So that is why I have the abbreviation AL. Then let's assume that within the organization, there could be multiple departments that uses Azure services. So you can provide your department name. Here DAI stands for Data Analytics and Insights. That is one common department available in most of the organization. Then this data factory is for the dev environment. So we will do the development in the dev environment. Then with the same naming convention, ADF algorithm, the department name, but this data factory is for production environment. This data factory is for the QA environment. So everything related to dev environment will be in the dev resource group. RG stands for resource group. Algorithm is the name of the company, and this is the name of the department. This is just one naming convention, an example naming convention. Different organizations could follow different naming convention. I just wanted to have some feel of how the naming look like in an actual organization rather than giving some random names. Okay, so again talking about these different data factories, from the beginning itself, I just wanted you all to have some feel of how things are done in an actual organization. So when you're doing some development, you will do that in the dev data factory, and then you use CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines to deploy those changes you have made in the dev environment into the QA environment. Then they do the testing in the QA environment. If everything looks good, then again the CI/CD pipeline will deploy the changes into the prod environment. So in an ideal industry standard practice scenario, developers should have access to only the dev environment. You should not be able to directly go and change something into production or prod environment. So that should come through proper channel. So whenever you make changes, it should be approved by someone. So your data factory should be integrated with Git for source or version control, and then it should be approved, and then it should be tested. There could be multiple environments. There could be another one called UAT, or user acceptance testing, where the end user will test it, and then only after getting their approval the changes will be pushed to the production environment. So depending on your organization and the number of resources you have, if it is a very small organization, you may not have that many resources, so you may have just two environments, dev and prod, or non-prod and prod environment. So different naming convention can be used, but the core idea is like this. So development will happen in the dev environment, and then only after everything looks good, those changes will be pushed into the production environment, and it should be done via pipeline. It shouldn't be done manually. And then so we will be having separate resources for dev environment. So we have a separate data factory for dev environment. We will have a separate key vault. Every keys related to dev environment will be stored in that dev key vault. Then dev environment will have access to separate storage account, a separate SQL database. So we have so many resources. So similarly, all these resources are applicable for the QA environment, prod environment. So you have a better way to organize these resources. That is why we have resource group. So every resource related to dev will be created within this dev resource group. Everything related to QA will be created in this QA resource group. So if I click here, I can go to my resource group. I don't have so many resources. I will be adding more resources in the future. For now, I have an ADF for dev, a key vault for dev. So this is how we organize our resources. And if you want to delete everything, you don't have to individually go and delete the resources. You can delete everything. You can click on this delete resource group, and it will delete everything within that resource group, all the resources. So if you are doing some testing, then you can create a resource group for that testing. So you will be creating a lot of resources for that testing. Once you are done, you don't have to remember all the resources you have created. Just go to the resource group and delete that resource group. So this is a cleaner way to do things. Okay, so going back, so these are all the things I wanted to cover. Just an introduction to Azure Portal. So in summary, it's a web interface provided by Microsoft to navigate through the different Azure resources. You can create Azure resources, and you can manage the Azure resources using the Azure portal. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next one, where we will be talking in depth about Azure Data Factory and how we can create Azure Data Factory pipelines. Thank you for watching.